Welcome to the Have You Met You podcast. I'm your host, Sasha Pearl, the energy architect, and I guide soul-led women in building six-figure businesses by aligning their identity, message, and branding. So let's get into it. Okay, so today I thought it'd be really fun to look at the transit that's going to be happening for us this coming week, and to also give my little TED talk that I will not be giving at Bend TEDx. But I thought, why not share the concept? Because I think it's still very valuable. And if they're not going to have me on their platform, I'm going to have me on my platform. You know what I'm saying? Sweet. Okay. So let's get into our transit first. Curious, how has everyone been doing today? Great, fabulous. Feel like the last couple of weeks have been like really intense, like in a good way though. It's like a lot of projects are coming online, lots of money flowing in, and also lots of work to do and structures to build. And I just onboarded a podcast VA, which I'm really excited about. I'm like, okay, this is how we're doing it differently because we need more support, especially for tasks that we have to do over and over again. And an example of like really building a business that's aligned to who you are and what lights you up so you feel excited about showing up in it every day is really looking at the task at hand. So, for example, with the podcast, I love sharing everything about human design and energetics, specifically in business, specifically as it relates to your identity. I love connecting with human beings. Two of my gifts, one is the 6124, the channel of inspiration. I inherently inspire new ways of being and thought into the world. Love that. And then my 1333, or the channel of the prodigal, this is all about listening to other people and holding the stories until they're ready to be shared. And I love connecting with people. They call it the podcast channel, right? Because I'm really good at interviewing and holding space for other people. So I'm really good at those things. I love that. It's not that I'm bad at the editing and all the other stuff. It's just like, I don't care to do it. So I'm not going to do it. So I have hired a VA. There's always an onboarding process to this. But as soon as we get into the groove, it's going to feel really, really good. And then I got to show up for what I'm really good at, my zone of genius. And then they got to show up and do the stuff that I don't want to do. So with that said, that's how easy it can be in building our businesses if we actually just look at what are we good at, what do we love to show up for, and how can we offboard the rest of the stuff to something else, someone else, or absolutely remove it because we don't need to do it. I feel like we have a tendency to really make everything as hard as possible sometimes when actually the most easeful thing that you can do is simplify everything. And so that's what I'm doing, or ask for support. So hopefully that resonates with someone and that can be helpful in your business. So with the transit that is happening starting on March 30th, before we head in, we're now fully in Aries season, I believe, as I'm recording this. So fire season has begun. We have just passed the spring equinox. We are now alive and well and blooming in the world, and it's been warm in Bend, Oregon. It has been blooming here. It's been actually pretty incredible since we had a very mild winter. We really didn't have a winter, which has been wild. So for the transit starting on March 30th, we are going to have the sun is in gate 21, and that is the gate of the hunter huntress, about biting through. So this is all about how the community is resourced and distributed. Okay. And it's coming from our ego center. So our ego defines the willpower, our worthiness, etc. So think about those themes when you are looking at that. And when we are resourcing ourselves, whether actually that's a great example of me resourcing myself by hiring a podcast VA, resourcing myself by spending money on just support or systems or software that is going to make my life easier, right? How can you resource yourself, your community? It's a very tribal energy this week. In your lives, in your businesses, in your careers. And what's really going to ground us this week too is gate 48, which is the well of depth. And this is all about going really, really deep into the resources, the things, the relationships, and really doing yourself a favor by asking yourself, am I in my signature state of being when I'm in relationship to my business, when I'm in relationship to the humans in my life, when I'm in relationship to the food I'm eating, and when I'm in relationship to the hobbies that I have? Because when we can always live from our signature state, which for manifestors is peace, for projectors is success, for manifesting generators, it's satisfaction. For reflectors, it's surprise. That is where we're going to be in our authenticity. That's where we're going to be the most magnetic. That's where we're going to be the most in flow, and opportunities are just going to drop into our laps without even knowing it. And so when we can really look at the details, the depth of the things that we are surrounding ourselves with and asking ourselves, are we in our signature self or are we in our not self? And really figuring out how we can keep moving ourselves back into the signature, because we are constantly in choice as much as we can be in choice, right? So, one other aspect of this is that for the next 6 days, we're going to have our egos defined, especially if you do not have it defined, because right now the main channel is connecting the ego center with our emotional center. And this is all about community. So, this is all about being the glue to the crew and really resourcing the community. It's a lot of tribal energy, lots of things going on in the world. But with an ego defined means that you have the energy to push through and finish the projects that you need to finish, that you have the additional willpower, the additional discipline to get things done that have been on your to-do list for a long time. This also inherently brings through more emotions, more emotional waves, more moodiness into the world, but lots of community too. So that's just a little transit moment for us on the pod today. Let me know how that resonates with you. I'd be very curious to hear what comes up for you this week. Now, I'm going to quickly read through my TEDx Bend outline. Not quickly, but let's just chat about it. So, I applied to TEDx Bend because I wanted to put myself out there. I said, I want to hold the identity of someone who speaks on stages, who shows up and has visibility. I'm really calling in visibility this year, and it's been incredible to see how my reel went viral. I've had plenty of speaking opportunities already, and then I'm going to have some podcasts that I'll be on here later this week, as well as putting myself out there in the community by hosting workshops and one-to-one readings in person, which has been incredible. So I actually set that intention at the beginning of the year. I put in my outline, applied for it for TEDx Band. I found out a couple of weeks ago around daylight savings time that I did not get it, which is totally fine. I'm so excited to go help support the other people, and just be there and just like be in the energy of people who are taking a risk and putting themselves on stage and sharing their ideas with the world. Like, how exciting to be around people who are fucking visionaries, who are dreamers, who dream about building a world that's better than where we're at right now. That's what I'm excited about. My whole talk I wanted to do was essentially on the future of business is energetics. And for me, this truly is about getting more people in the roles that they are meant to be in, and how we can actually see where people fit best in teams, in businesses, in relationships through the lens of human design. And this is honestly all about identity work. The more that we can understand who we are helps build compassion for ourselves, inherently reflects back compassion to other people who are especially not like us. Like, specifically as a projector, I'm very different than 80% of the people out there. And then for manifestors, they're 91% different than everyone else out there, right? The manifesting generators and the generators of the world really understand how this world was built because it was built by them and for them. And so when we can actually see where our zones of geniuses are, I'm here to share my insights and my unique guidance and perspective in the world, because it's meant to land. It's meant for people to really be seen. It's also meant to help people create efficiencies within themselves, within their businesses, within the systems. So, as I've talked about before, we are not robots. We are human beings. We are literally people who breathe, who can have conscious thought, who can really speak their minds when they want to. So, when we are thinking about how we exist into the world, we are literally in relationship to everything. Even if we cannot actively see the energy that we are feeling, it's still there because it's the felt sense. So when we're thinking about our businesses, when we're thinking about our careers, why aren't we actually thinking about the relationship that we have with them. And so the more that we can use energetics to help us bridge the gap between our human existence that felt unseen and then our relationship to the entity, which is our business, our careers, our loved ones, that is where we're all going to start to really understand and allow the drop in of information to guide us in building a higher vibrational world, higher vibrational products, services, and teams. So the future of business is not just about smarter systems, it's about better strategies. It is about conscious, connected humans creating from a place of inner alignment. Because when we are actually, again, back to our signature state of self, we are acting from our own authenticity, our alignment, right? And then if we are constantly creating from our highest version of self, of course, we're going to be creating higher vibrational products, services, and teams. My goal in the world is to get human design, get energetics at the core, the root of foundations that are being built. I think it'd be easy to get into the health and wellness space and the technology space to really support people in connecting in a more energetically aware place, right? So I know that as a projector, I'm going to do best when I am leading a team or guiding other people on the journeys of creating the product. I'm not going to be as good as pumping out the work as other people are. I can do it really fast, absolutely, but is it going to feel my soul? Probably not. Really building this energetic dynamic between teams that actually support the bigger vision of our businesses, of the corporations. And it would be so fun to help support and recalibrate businesses' functions and services using human design and energetics to inform those decisions. Of course, nothing exists. Energy does not exist without strategy, and strategy does not exist without energy. But that is where we can really start shining and start really seeing how energetics can play a tangible role in how we show up in our lives. Because we are not meant to be on this planet to just be sad fucking robots. We're just not. And so, how can we access our highest selves and most productive, joyful human self that we can by understanding how we're actually meant to show up? What do we actually want to be sharing with the world? What do we actually care about? Not who we think we should care about or what we think we should care about, but our bodies, our minds, our souls, our intuition telling us that this is for you. You are the moment. Like if we were to consistently show up in the moment of who we are and what we want to say, because we are so connected, we are so in alignment, we are so just who we are fully expressed in the world. That is what the power of energetics can do, because once we can create the awareness around who we actually are and we commit, we shake hands with each other on that this is the identity that we want to hold, because this is a version of me I want to be. That is how we get to the other side of things. That is how we start building teams that are actually working together. That's how we create services and products in the world that are high vibrational. And that's what we need more of. We don't need more of the Temus of the world or the Amazons. We need the people who are heart-led, driven, soul-led in the world, having functional businesses because they actually work. Because you are actually creating and staying in your zone of genius. And that's what we want. And that is what we get to do in the future of business is energetics. And that's what we get to do in my job, in the things that I do. So why am I so passionate about getting energetics into these bigger corporations, larger businesses, and companies? Well, I worked at a 9 to 5, and it was apparently a really cool agency that I worked at, and it was a creative agency, and I wasn't even like finance or anything, you know what I mean? But I still felt so incredibly unseen because no one actually knew who I was. Corporate is just this like icky place to me where it's full of fucking politics and fucking egos and power trips. And I'm just like, can't we all just get along and be celebrated for who we are? Understanding that this is what drives me. This is why I want you to feel fully expressed in the world, because I think that if I had been seen, if I had been appreciated for the work that I did, for the creativity, for all the things, I probably would have had a better time. I also think the universe is like, we need you to be like working for yourself. So we're not going to give you like managers or people that you resonate or see you. And so I always had to like go and figure it out myself. But I believe that with human design and energetics, it is literally the mirror and the portal in to your soul. It's your purest form of energy. So when we can really start understanding each other, even if all we know is how people make decisions, what their energy types are, and what their profiles are, that is so much more knowledge of how people actually interact. It's like very similar to understanding when people have ADHD or they're not ADHD, right? It's like very important to understand, like, oh, okay, now that I know that, then I can operate and communicate in a way that's going to be more efficient for them to understand me, that they're not going to be overwhelmed. They're not going to be pissed at me. I just know them so well because I care enough and have compassion enough to understand them in their own way. And so it's really about building not only your identity, but then your relationship and your community skills together. And that's how we create harmonious businesses, harmonious careers. God damn, our world would be so much happier if we could just live in that space, right? And so I'm going to continue to show up here. I'm going to continue to put myself out there. And who knows, maybe I'll get that corporate job one day where I get to showcase this workshop, where I get to build a team and show them where their gifts are, their strengths are, their weaknesses are, and then actually get people in the correct roles so then they can actually function in a way that's going to support them in efficiency, in creating systems, in whatever that they actually need. Because sometimes people just need to know who they are to then start fully activating who they are. And we can do that with human design, by human design readings. That was my little TEDx outline, a little all over the place, but the idea is there. Obviously, I didn't work on it because I was waiting to see if I would get there. And maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe I will have my own TEDx event in my home and invite my friends over to just share this concept with people and get people on board with the idea of getting to know your friends in a deep, deep, deep way. So that's it for this pod. I'm going to have Lexi Chang on next week. We are so excited to have her. She is an identity coach and astrologer, and we are so happy to have her on. And again, if you want to book a highly potent human session with me, which is a 60-minute human design reading, you can do so at the links below. These are literally activating in such a deep, deep way. I highly recommend booking a session with me. We are not just doing basic copy and paste verbatim. This is what human design is. It is very much an intuitive read. It is very much collaborative, and it's very much an integration into your highest version of self. So that's it for this one. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.